My name is Michal Smetana, and I'm very happy to be attending Czernin Security Forum this year. Just to very briefly introduce myself, I'm a research associate at the Center for Security Policy, and I'm currently coordinating Charles University Center of Excellence called Peace Research Center Prague. And besides that, I'm also teaching at Charles University Faculty of Social Sciences several courses related to international security and international politics. Global shifts in power is a complex phenomenon that is taking place in different regions in the world with different intensity, but obviously from European perspective there are three countries or three spots that are the most relevant for our security. It is the United States, it is Russia, and it is China. And all these three cases represent certain security challenges for Europe. When it comes to United States, there is a continued questioning of the transatlantic link of security guarantees provided by the United States to European security, and there's a huge question how this will develop when there is a even more profound change in the configuration of power in current world order. When it comes to Russia and its behavior in this neighborhood, this once again raises the question of conflict on European soil, whether it's on the political level or on a military level. And when it comes to Russia, we are witnessing a rise in power that is catching up with the United States, and attempts to use its rising power to have certain influence in Europe. And I would say that all these three dimensions should be well discussed in Europe in the coming years, and Europe might be an important battleground, not maybe in a literal sense, but let's say in the sense of how power is wielded in the future. And this is something we should be definitely be discussing in the near future. We have been witnessing for a while these attempts to stigmatize nuclear weapons as weapons which are inhuman, which should never be used again after their first use at the end of the Second World War, and that should have no use in security doctrines. I mean, these efforts have been complex, have been wielded by non-nuclear weapons countries as well as non-governmental organizations for a long time. But despite these stigmatizing efforts, we cannot see like a linear progression towards stigmatization of nuclear weapons in world politics. This whole idea of nuclear taboo is being once again questioned because obviously many countries in the world are once again relying even more on nuclear weapons, whether we talk about Russia, when we are witnessing the developments in South Asia, and obviously the latest case of North Korea is once again telling us that nuclear weapons still can be used both as weapons of deterrence, at least as long as actors perceive it as a useful deterrent weapon, but also as a weapon of prestige and even some kind of domestic consolidation and something that still wields some symbolic power of its own. We are actually right now facing two probably very different trajectories beyond current status quo. As everybody knows, there are US nuclear weapons deployed on European soil in 5 European countries, besides 2 nuclear armed countries in Europe itself, UK and France. And I believe that the future of US nuclear weapons in Europe is one of these big challenges for the coming years, and we can obviously witness 2 very different scenarios and everything in between. One of them is gradual withdrawing of US from European continent, which could potentially involve also withdrawing of US nuclear weapons, which some actors in Europe might welcome as a development that is long overdue and should be praised. On the other hand, there are several EU members, especially in the Eastern Front, that would see it as a very worrying trend and something that could once again weaken the US credibility of US guarantees towards Europe. And on the other hand, we can we can see also a different scenario. As many of you might have noticed, United States is currently declared that it would be withdrawing from the INF Treaty, the 1980s Cold War Treaty that managed to prohibit the whole class of nuclear weapons. And we are actually in the middle of debates if there would be like a renewed possible development or even deployment of US intermediate range weapons in Europe. At the moment, this is not on the table for the coming years, but at least it's a scenario that might be discussed, and we should all think through what kind of implication this might have for European security on conflict with, on potential conflicts with Russia, etc.